Hi, this is Brendan from Watto Training, and in today's tutorial we're going to look at teaching positions for cabin drill and controls for C-class learners. Where should I position myself for teaching? In the driver's seat, the passenger seat, outside the door? And also, where should I position my student? The driver's seat, passenger seat, outside the driver's door? Today's tutorial looks at the options of where to sit and, in some cases, stand to communicate effectively with your learner. Some teaching tips to start with. Keep it simple and focus on what matters. Don't let yourself be overwhelmed. Confucius. Be concise. To be concise means the instructor presents the information clearly in as few words as possible without skimping on the content. Make every word count. Be clear. To be clear means the instructor doesn't complicate the message. Break the information down into bite-sized pieces. Don't try to achieve too much too soon. Be patient and progress at the rate the learner can manage. Consider your kinesthetic learners. They learn best when they can use tactile, that is hands-on experiences, and carry out a physical activity to practice applying new information. Create a clear program for your students. Make the material matter. Deliver the session with purpose and passion. Have a learner-centered focus and reinforce with repetition and quality feedback. Prioritize your content. Prioritizing is vital in teaching. This is the process of determining what is most important in terms of what to include and leave out of a training session. Ask yourself, what does the student need to know now? What do they need to know next to be able to progress safely through my learning program? Am I in a safe location? Find a safe location for teaching the basics such as quiet local streets, industrial estates on the weekend, empty car parks, deserted country roads. The area should be free as possible from people, vehicles, and obstacles that could be a safety issue. Try and find safe places to stop for briefing and debriefing. If a beginner student lives in a busy area, most trainers will drive the student to a safe training location nearby to commence training for their first lesson. Dual controls. Training vehicles have dual controls fitted to the driving school car. These are located in the front footwell on the passenger side of the vehicle. The accredited trainer has access to accelerator, brake, clutch. Correct dual control use by the trainer helps keep training safe. So even if you have a driver with a low skill level, you can intervene if necessary. See the Watto Training YouTube tutorial on 5 common crashes and how to avoid them for more on this topic. Vehicle inspection checklist. Some trainers will include the vehicle checks, exterior and under the bonnet, and some don't. They will not be tested in the Q-Safe driving assessment. However, they are options as listed there for you to explore. These are covered in other Watto Training tutorials. Okay, let's take a look at the list here on the cabin drill and controls. So what we've got is the cabin drill, the steering wheel controls, the dashboard instrument cluster lights and dials, the console controls, and other controls. I won't go through every single dot point there because I cover those in other tutorials, but feel free to pause the tutorial at this point if you want to take a look at those items in particular. Remember, prioritize. Let's look at the possible teaching positions for the cabin drills and controls. Okay, so our first situation is the learner in the driver's seat and the trainer in the passenger seat. This is a good setup for learners who are familiar with the vehicle and have driving skills. They can set up the seat and steering, put the seatbelt on, set up the mirrors, as well as identify critical controls. They possess driving skills. So our example here on the right is Sam has done 80 hours of his logbook with his mum and dad in their manual I-30. That setup of learner in the driver's seat, trainer in the passenger seat would be appropriate for that starting lesson. Okay, this scenario, trainer in the driver's seat and learner in the passenger seat. This is a good setup for a trainer to demonstrate and explain the vehicle's controls. There is a limitation though, as the learner can't see the controls on the right side of the steering wheel as well as seat controls. The trainer can demo from the driver's seat, and this can be good for visual learners and students with low-level English, so the show and tell principle. The example here is Jared hasn't done any lessons, is very nervous and lives on a busy main road. His trainer decides to drive him 5 minutes down the road to start the lesson in a quiet location. Okay, this scenario, the learner starts in position 1, which is outside the driver's door, and then once that part's completed, moves to position 2. So let's take a look at the content. So the trainer's in the driver's seat, learner observes from outside the vehicle initially, then moves to the passenger seat. This is a good setup for the trainer to demonstrate and explain the controls from the driver's seat and the learner in position 1. The learner can see without obstruction the controls on the right-hand side of the car, including seat setup, ignition, door controls, window controls, mirror controls. Once completed, the learner moves to position 2 in the passenger seat to continue training. Note, on hot days and rainy days, position 1 exposes the student to the elements, and that can be unpleasant. So an example here is Amira says she is a visual learner. So she observes the trainer demonstrating the seat setup, steering wheel setup, and mirrors from position 1, then moves to the passenger seat to observe a demo drive from the trainer. Okay, this scenario is the learner in the driver's seat. The trainer teaches or tests them from outside the vehicle initially, then moves to the passenger seat. So the trainer is actually the one that starts outside and moves in this scenario. This is a good setup for the trainer to demonstrate and explain controls on the right side of the vehicle from outside the vehicle. The trainer must make sure that they do not look at the student's legs as they sit in the driver's seat in an unprofessional, inappropriate manner. Remember, you might not think that you are doing it, but think about how your positioning is perceived by the student. Note that on hot days and rainy days, position 1 exposes the trainer to the elements, and this can be unpleasant. If the trainer has bad knees, squatting down and pointing at controls can also be difficult. The example here is the trainer outlines to Sally all the controls such as seat adjustment, steering wheel, seatbelt, mirrors, door window controls, as well as ignition, start up and shut down. From position 1, then delivers the rest of the introduction from position 2, covering the gears, hazard lights, air conditioning, etc. Okay, what works best? The trainer will have to make the best decision based on the information they have about their learner and their knowledge and skill, as well as the situation they are in. For example, the weather, the location, and the time of day. This is done each lesson by the trainer, but at all times keep in mind, question, how can I give the student maximum value? Not just dollars, but in terms of learning. Are there any hazards I need to manage? If so, how? What timeline am I working on? For example, is the student's driving test in 6 months or tomorrow? And finally, remember to have a learner-centered approach. Thank you for watching. This has been Brendan for Watto Training.